It's very interesting, and it deals with basically the same things I'm discussing with you. Conclusions, it's not only piracy, there are other allied causes. The industries that we advise are no longer incorporating these changes at the necessary rate. 2, alliances are much better than conflicts. Commercial intelligence, theory of points of control are much more significant and efficient contributions than trying to limit what is happening outside the net. There are positive impacts. We have to adapt, and the axes of today's paradigm are to management of rights, that all these businesses are about management of IP, and advertising. No sector can forget advertising, but because this is the main source of income for the future. The concept is essential. This concept is essential to improve the distribution of income. Of 2,000 million in the content sector, the sector receives a little bit only. And we need to transmit this concept to those that we advise. We need to improve so that we can help those who need us. Thank you very much for your patience.
Muchas gracias, Matías, por tu...
Thank you very much, Matías, for your enriching and teaching presentation. Now we have here with us Mihai Crasneanu. He was born in Romania. He lived in Paris. Now he is currently residing in London. So this is a multicultural panel. Mihai is an executive director of Grey Juice Lab, a global content integrator from the beginning to the end that covers all the steps in the value-added change on TV and videos. He was formerly a general director and founder of Gloria, which is now in the Paris Stock Exchange under the name of Future Video, and an international vice president of UOL. Mihai, you have the floor. Thank you very much. In order to speak about digital rights, we have aspects, and I'm convinced that in this room almost 100% or more know far more than me about digital rights. I'm a computer engineer, but I've spent all my career working for the media, and although I spend 1/3 of my life reading contracts with TV channels, I'm not an expert in legal aspects, but I understand and admire the complexity that you are able to handle. So consider me as someone who comes from an external industry to the one in which you are working. And you will probably ask me whether I have the right to show you this image of Spider-Man on the screen. Well, just a few words about Grey Juice Lab. In our company, we're based in Paris and London, and we have operations almost around the world with offices in Buenos Aires, Mexico, Dubai, Hong Kong, and Kuala Lumpur. And we basically have, I'll tell you exactly what we do, but our clients are companies such as Antel, Telecom Argentina in Colombia, which is a telecommunications company, but also a cable operator, mobile operator, satellite operators. The common factor among these clients is that they are in a telecommunications industry or broadband industry or mobile communications company, and what they want to do is to enter into the world of commercialization of digital contents, because they understand that those actors that Matías identified as Netflix, Google, they're entering the market and they are reducing, or to simple transporters, those actors that offer broadband or mobile broadband, and that is clearly would clearly be tantamount to the death of those competitors in the long term. All these operators want to enter the market and want to compete with equal tools against iTunes, Netflix, perhaps against Google, by offering digital contents. It is a very complex world. Technology is complex, but the content is even more complex. And what we do is to help these operators who have access to this digital content world and implement their service platforms of films, online films, and help them in their daily activities. We work with them in order to define what they need, what type of services, how many films, how many series, how many documentaries or children's shows, what price in packages or by unit or by monthly subscription. So we arrive at a strategy and a business plan. Then we begin the essential part of our work, which is the aggregation of contents, and that's what we do. We are basically aggregators of content. What does this mean? It means that we have relations and contracts with the main content providers in the market, which are mainly the Hollywood studios, but also many TV channels, international producers, and obviously, given our location in the world, also to local providers or suppliers, so that Bollywood films could be of interest to people in Latin America, or soap operas could be interesting for Malaysia people. So we add those contents and then we contribute or give these rights to our clients. The contents and contracts are not enough, because then we need to deliver those contents to the various platforms. They are video files that are very heavy and very complex, and we need to process them to upload them on the internet or the boxes that are delivered to each residence. And these are very complex in terms of metadata, formats, language, subtitles, etc. But this wouldn't mean anything if these contents that we have obtained so hardly were not sold correctly over the platform. It is useless to have an online store if no one takes care of the sales on a daily basis. And this is the work that we do every day. We help these operators that don't know about the business of selling contents over the internet, because they are cable operators or TV operators, and we help them promote their films and series. Like tomorrow, the new Spider-Man will be shown, so we do special promotion. For Valentine's Day, we will prepare a specific package, etc. That is a daily job that is rather specialized on this market. The aggregation of content is perhaps the topic that may be more interesting to you. Together with the major studios and with other suppliers, we enter into licensing agreements. We are the licensees. We are the licensees of the studios. We are responsible for the contents and all the rights related to those contents, and we are also the holders of the permissions or authorizations of the content providers, and we extend those rights to the authorized platforms such as the Argentina Telecom Company or the Uruguayan Telecom Company. And once these platforms sell the content, they give us reporting, sales reports, and of course the money generated by those sales, and then we need to report and make payments to the various content providers. This is our work, and I think it is important for me to explain this to you so that you can understand how this industry operates. It is very difficult for a telecommunications operator to negotiate directly with a studio because in general they pay more than the market. A Hollywood studio doesn't like a contract that is less than 70 to 100 pages. A TV channel has a 10-page contract, but a Hollywood a studio for a video-on-demand service expects a very long contract, and clearly human resources of operators are not trained to understand and handle that type of rights, because they have usually worked with the world of telecommunications or cable companies or retail companies. So this is an aspect that allows them to get faster to the end user. The topic of today's session is piracy, and we are very well positioned to know what's happening in the world. And I'm going to talk about certain aspects of piracy that are legal or lawful, but they are quite broad. This is the estimated impact of piracy in Western Europe. This was measured in 2010, and as you can see, there are many disparities among the various countries. On the one hand, there are countries that have a very high level of digital piracy, and others is a high level of physical piracy. The interesting thing about this is that physical piracy is always related, and digital piracy has to do with the bandwidth offered to the client. The better the work done by the telecommunications operators to give a good bandwidth to their customers, then that's when digital piracy begins. France has always had an excellent bandwidth, a very high penetration of internet services, and physical piracy has not flourished or has not been necessary. In Great Britain, although it is a country where things are more field oriented, the bandwidth is not so good, internet access is not as good as in France, and we see that physical piracy is higher. And Italy, if you have been there, it's clearly a country when even when you travel, it's very hard to find a Wi-Fi network. It's a country where physical piracy is very important. This means that the closer we are to optical fiber and digital technology, then digital piracy will develop more rapidly than physical piracy. What do we do in order to combat piracy? There are governments such as the government of Venezuela that have put notices on the streets telling people that piracy is bad and wrong. And Hugo Chavez is saying on TV that of course, it's not a bad thing to do piracy because most digital contents are prepared by imperialistic companies, so it's okay to copy them. But of course, the tax authorities are against piracy. So this contradiction we found very interesting. What do studios ask for? This is an example of Warner Company. Warner says that if I am a telecommunication operator and I want to ask Warner to give me my content catalog because I would like to have Harry Potter, Batman, and all those movies in my catalog of video on demand, Warner will ask me a lot of money for this. I need to sign a lot of papers, but among other things, they tell me that, okay, I will give you my content, but first you have to sign this anti-piracy agreement with me directly because I want you, as an internet operator, guarantees a series of things to me. Among them is, for instance, not to promote piracy, not even in an indirect way. But why should a telecom operator promote piracy? And we'll see that in a second. They also require that the operators combat piracy in 3 stages. This means that traffic needs to be monitored, and a response is required when there are users that are downloading movies illegally. And after three steps of information and threatening, the third is just to cut the access to internet for good. So as you can imagine, this raises lots of legal questions at a local level. It also includes provisions in the license of final end users when they hire bandwidth, and they ask the partner to participate in all their advertising and marketing activities against piracy. Why should a film studio require all these things? Because in the past and until today, internet providers, either they are small or big companies, have taken advantage of the fact that people like to download music and movies illegally to promote their bandwidth and to say, oh, well, that's a good reason for you to pay a little bit more a month and have a higher speed. For instance, there is an operator in Ukraine who simply says that, okay, in order to download movies faster, you should have a fiber optic service. And I think that the reference to King Kong and Hollywood movies is evident and obvious. But this operator is also a cable operator, but does not offer video on demand, legal video on demand services. I didn't find any images, but I can tell you that in France and England, a couple of years ago, absolutely all the content providers of internet access providers, all the telecommunications and SPs entities, including France Telecom, had in their advertising this message of download music and movies faster. All of them had this until they began offering this service among their within the framework of their offerings, and they stopped doing that. But it is obvious that a studio will be annoyed when they identify this kind of behavior. What do studios do? They do a lot to make a lot of noise because they create lobbying. They inform people and they say that piracy is wrong, but what they don't do is to combat piracy on the field. We have sometimes informed the studios with which we have a good relationship. We have told them that there are many pirate websites in many countries, and nothing has happened. The studios haven't even answered, or if they say, okay, we take note of this, but nothing happened. They don't do a lot to help local companies to offer legal content. The minimum requirements are very high. They don't do a lot to promote legal services. It is very difficult for any small company to enter the market of legal video on demand services. But at the global level, it is illogical to combat piracy if at the same time you are not offering a legal solution. I'm going to show you a short clip that is being prepared and by the studios in order to combat piracy. Well, we are combating piracy at the global level. Could you please click on the button to show it? Piracy is a crime. This is a global campaign It's been shown in all the largest countries in the world, in Europe, in the US, Asia. It's one of the numerous campaigns that you students have launched in order to combat piracy. It sends out a rather tough message. Piracy is a crime. What has happened? How do people react to this? There was a survey in 2008, and when people in England were asked, if you receive an email or a call from your internet access provider telling you that you are downloading pirated content, would you stop doing it or not? Interestingly enough, 70% of people said yes. People sometimes do not realize that downloading music or films is illegal and it's a crime. So sometimes it's a matter of information. To say this very clearly, inform people and tell them, well, we know that you're doing it. It's illegal. Stop doing it. Based on this study and survey, France enacted a law 2 or 3 years ago called Adopi, which basically provides for 3 stages, and I have here a couple of results. It's a 3-strike strategy. They have forced all internet access providers to monitor the internet downloads, and they have identified 3 million of IP addresses of home computers that have downloaded illegal contents. Out of those 3 millions, 1.1 million have received an email informing them that we know that you're doing it. A little more than 100,000 people received a letter. Well, you continue to do it. That was the second strike. And the third strike, 340 people received a legal letter from a lawyer or a legal firm with legal information saying that they are going to sue them if they don't stop doing it. Out of them, 14 have been sent to court, and until now, no lawsuits have been filed. Interestingly enough, we do not know whether piracy has declined. Many think that it hasn't, but the Ministry of Culture France declared that 12 million euros and 60 agents on the field is a lot just to send only 1 million emails. So it's not very clear whether it is working or not. What is clear is that all the actions against people who are involved in piracy have been very badly perceived because many excesses have been committed. There was a case of a girl, a teenager, that was waiting for a transplant, and at the same time she was sued for downloading a couple of music. So there was a lot of noise on the press, and that created a lot of bad publicity. So the question in the end is that the fight against piracy leaves a very bad image. I would like to show you now an extract to close. I only have 1 or 2 final slides of a very popular series in England called IT Crowd. What happens on the peak hours, and has taken piracy as a case for mocking people, and you will see what really happened during peak hours just before an episode of the series was shown. It was a series about a computer fence guys. This is British humor. Images are a little bit funny, but just to relax at the end of the day. Please go ahead.
If you
Well, millions of downloads on YouTube. Obviously, people, that's the name of the series, the IT crowd, people feel very much attacked, and they don't understand that piracy is really a crime. The truth about piracy is that it is a massive popular reaction to current market inconsistencies. The content arrives too late, too little, too complicated. I'm sure that you can easily